Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jacks Miller. So we are in the middle of the budget debate. So we have with us the opposition leader, Mark Golding, as well as the opposition spokesperson on finance, Julian Robinson. Both have made their presentations in the budget debate. And before you all ask, we've already extended our invitation to both the finance minister and the prime minister as well. Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Before I get into the specifics of your presentation, there was a point made in a discussion I had with Clyde Williams yesterday on radio, and he was saying that the whole process he thinks needs to be revamped, to be more participatory. And I was wondering your thoughts of both of you on that. Perhaps you first, Mr. Golding.
The budget process.
Yes. So in other words, he was saying people need to be able to have an input into the actual proposals as well as the budget before it's presented as a fait accompli.
Well, the budget call, which is what is sent out by finance to the ministries, I think takes place in October or that time of year. So that's when the process of compiling the budget really gets going. I agree that there should be more broad input, if possible, into it. Just especially on the issue of priorities, because I think that's where the public would probably have most value to add as to what they think resources ought to really be focused on doing. But it's a very technical and time-consuming thing. So the necessary procedures to make that happen don't really exist. It has been said that in the constituency debate that we have in the House prior to the budget process, that is supposed to evoke ideas for things that should be dealt with in the budget. But in practice, I don't think that really happens. So he has a fair point. I mean, deepening the democracy would involve finding ways in which the public can weigh in on what their areas of concern or what their priorities would be. But as it stands now, it's really driven by technocrats. It's all about balancing the budget and finding ways to fund gaps and that kind of thing.
What I would say, I remember when I was last in government, we started an open budget process where citizens, we could break down the budget in a very simple, practical way. I believe it continued, but I'm not sure if it still exists right now. It's very technical. I think the jargon would probably lose most people, but I believe it can be broken down in a simple way that people can understand and participate. But right now, I don't think there is a lot of opportunity. The constituency debates don't influence what happens in the final analysis. I mean, the way the budget is structured, the Minister of Finance always has the closing where presumably you could take into account contributions made by the opposition and input from the business sector, etc., and make adjustments at the closing. In my experience, it is rarely done that you see major changes. Right. You may see some minor, but not major. So I would agree with Clyde that there is an opportunity to have more citizens' participation in the process.
Because right now it almost seems like we're not talking to one another. Not sure.
Well, we know, well, Dion, I would say we try to reflect the realities of what's happening in the country. I mean, yeah, there's a very technical side of it, but, certainly coming out of the hurricane, our presentations were very focused on addressing the needs of the people who 4 or 5 months later have no roof, sleeping in car, they have lost their businesses. So, we certainly brought that to the table in the recommendations that we made.
And I wouldn't say we're speaking just to those who are present in the House. One is aware that it's a national event, the budget debate, and one is speaking to the nation. So, in casting your thoughts and in deciding what you're going to say and so on, I think you're mindful of what this mood of the public is, what the needs are out there that you've come across and you've become aware of, and you try and reflect that as best you can.
All right, so we're going to go to a break. When we come back now, we start talking about some of the proposals made by the representatives of the opposition in the budget debate. We'll soon come.